Shalom, shalom, Israel, brother endure, fisherman for Zion, coming at you in meekness and sincereness, um, with some honey and some milk. Right. So today we're going to get into the topic of judges, right, and who can judge. You know, because it's a misunderstanding, worldwide, chiefly in religion, um, even in the whole world about people saying, well, you can't judge me, right? You know, uh, um, it's a saying in the world, they say that only God can judge me, right? Or the Christians, they'll say, judge ye not, that ye be not judged, right? Mathew 7. Well, so today we're going to get to the bottom of things. We're going to go through the scriptures and see, you know, if you can judge or not, and who are the judges, right? So first let's go to the book of Proverbs, right? And first off, we want to give all praise to the Most High Power, Yahweh, right? And we do so under His name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, right? Yahweh being the name of the Father, right? Yahweh Shai being the name of the Son, right? So let's go to the book of Proverbs, right? The book of Proverbs, chapter 4, and verse 7, and it reads, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding, right? So a lot of people in this world, they seem to be wise, or they seem to have gotten wisdom out of the scriptures. But the Most High has set up a direct order to how to get the understanding of all of this wisdom that's in this Bible, right? This is a big book, right? And a lot of people have read this book, over the years, but they haven't quite came into the understanding of the truth of the matter, right? So yes, you can judge according to the Bible, right? So, but who is the ultimate judge? Let's see. This is the book of Second Esdras, right? Chapter 7 and verse 9, right? Second Esdras out of the Apocrypha, right? The book of Second Esdras, chapter 7 and verse 19, and it reads, and he said unto me, there is no judge above God, and none that hath understanding above the highest. Right? So the Most High is the ultimate judge. Right? The Most High is the ultimate judge. You understand? He's the creator. Right? He's the ancient of days. Right? He's the one that he has no number. He has no time of days. Right? He just is. You understand that all of his creations are on the earth. Right? He's the chief judge, the ruler. You understand? The creator of the CEOs, right? And he has his servants that work for him, and they have different offices, right? Sanctified for different things, right? So let's go to the book of Romans, chapter 13, and verse 1, right? To piggyback off of that, right? The book of Romans, chapter 13, and verse 1, and it reads, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High, the power that be ordained of God, right? So the Most High he's the ultimate power, man. He's the ruler, you understand? He's the ultimate judge, right? And he sits on his throne in the heavens, man, right? And he has different officers set up, you understand, in the heavens from the spiritual world, sanctified from the foundation thereof, right? And they have different officers set up on the earth, right? But we're going to get to the bottom of things on the judges, right, that you read about in the scriptures, right? What happened to them, right? And even are they on the earth today, right? Well, today we're going to get to the bottom of things, right? So I'm going to read that again. It says, this is Romans chapter 13 and verse 1. It says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High. Right? So there's no other powers but of the Most High. You understand? But the Most High gives powers to his servants, man, right? And they're set up in offices to do a job or to do a duty, right? Just like you got a company, you understand? You got the ultimate CEO. He's probably never at the company, right? But then you have different leaders that works for the organization, so on and so forth, and they pass down certain roles, right, to the other ranking systems, right? That's the same way with the Most High. You understand? It's a ranking system. That's why the Most High said, "Let everything be done decently and in order." Right. So let's go to the book of Titus, chapter 3, verse 1, just to piggyback off that, right, through the Spirit. The book of Titus, chapter 3 and verse 1, it says, "Put them in mind to be subject to principalities and powers, to obey magistrates, to be ready to every good work." Right? So you kind of got to dive into these words, man, to see what these things mean. Right? So the Lord said, put them in mind to be subject to principalities. Right? Now the principalities that it's talking about in this text, let's see what this word principalities mean, right? We're gonna go to the Greek, right? The blue letter, we're gonna go to the blue letter, right? Through the Spirit, right? Let's see what this word principalities mean, right? It says the beginning or origin, right? It says the person or thing that commences the first person, right? The leader, right? So a man is supposed to have a leader. You understand? If you're on this earth, you're supposed to have a leader, you understand, who's leading you and guiding you in a righteous path or a righteous direction. So if you look at our people today, would you say that we have great leaders or that we're being led in the path of righteousness? No. Right? It's because our people think that they can't be judged, man. And that's a proud spirit. Right? If you're on this earth right now, you think that that you can't be judged. That's a proud spirit, man. Right? Somebody judge you according to the laws, statutes, and commandments. You say, well, you can't judge me. Only God can judge me. You're going off. Right? So let's go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 19. Right? Let's go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 15, and it reads, "Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty." Right? So in your judgment, you're not supposed to have respect to persons, man. Right? You see somebody poor or of the mighty, you understand, you're not supposed to respect them. Right? For example, if, in the ancient world, right, we had judges set up and they would judge the matter thereof. Right? So if a person came up and said, well, this man, he stole my oxen, right? And the man came up and, he kind of looked ruggy or, kind of raggedy, kind of looked poor. And you would say, man, he didn't do that, right? He's poor, right? He wouldn't do that. So you're not supposed to have respect of persons. That would be unrighteous judgment, right? You're supposed to judge every man righteously, right? According to the laws, statutes, commandments that's set up from the foundation of the world, right? So it says, from the top, Leviticus 19 and 15, "Ye shall not do unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the persons of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty. But in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor." So you're supposed to judge your neighbor in righteousness, right? You're supposed to judge your neighbor according to the laws and the foundation that was set up, okay, to how we were supposed to live our lives and govern ourselves, right? So let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, right? Chapter 1 and verse 15. Right? Let's see what the Lord said, right? It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1 and verse 15, and it reads, "So I took the chief of your tribes, wise men and known, and made them heads over you. So this goes into the same word as principalities, right? Or magistries, right? And when you make someone a head over you, that's a principality, right? Or that's a magistry. You understand? And this was set up from the foundation of the world. So who the hell are you to say, well, you can't judge me. You understand? You trying to judge me by that Bible. You going off, right? So this is Deuteronomy 1:15. It says, so I told the chief of your tribes, wise men and known, and made them heads over you, captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, and captains over fifties, and captains over tens, and officers among your tribes, right? And these officers, these captains, you understand? These brothers are back on the earth today, man, right? These brothers are back on the earth today, you understand, judging according to the commandments that the Most High set up in the foundation of the world. Because we're going to get our nation in order, man, through the spirit, grace, mercy, and power of the Most High, right? Verse 16, it says, and I charge your judges at thine time, saying, hear the cause between your brethren, right? And judge righteously between every man and his brother and the stranger that is with him, right? So the judge is supposed to judge righteously, man, between your brother or the strangers, man, right? In the kingdom of heaven, all right, when the elect is sealed, right, the 144,000 governing bodied men that were sanctified from the foundation of the world, right, they're going to be judging, okay, the nation of Israel and all of the other nations, man, according to the law, statutes, and commandments that the Most High is going to have set up, right? And they're going to be judging righteous judgments, right, to the brother and the strangers, right? So let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 10, right? The book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, right, chapter 10, and we're going to read from the top, right? It's the book of Ecclesiasticus, right, chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, a wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of the prudent man is well ordered. So if you're a wise judge, you understand, you're going to instruct your people, right? You're going to say, okay, well, this is the reason we fell off. You understand? The Lord set this up from the foundation of the world. This is what we have to do in order to heal our nation, right? That's what a wise judge is going to do, right? A man of understanding, right? The Lord said, and the government of the prudent man is well ordered, right? Because the prudent man is going to understand, he's going to be prudent to go into the law, statutes, and commandments, the history, right? And going to have understanding that everything should be done decently in order. And when we're out of order, right, when our judges are out of order, we're out of order as a nation of people, right? This is the reason why the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are out of order, man, right? We're the Israelites, right? We're out of order as a nation of people, right? And if we're out of order, the world is out of order, right? The earth is out of order, right? The ozone layer is polluted, man, because you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans have failed, man, from your first estate, right? And our judges haven't been judging according to the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Your judges now are, Bishop T.D. Jakes, right? Joel Osteen, right? And they're not judging you according to what the Lord set up, man, right? They're telling you anything, man. That's why the Lord said this in the book of Lamentations, right? It's the book of Lamentations, chapter 2, bear with me, right? It's the book of Lamentations, chapter 2, and I want to start at verse 14. It says, this is Lamentations chapter 2 and verse 14. It says, thy prophets have seen vain and foolish things for thee. Right? So the people that are prophesying to our people today, you understand, they telling the Lord, wait on the Lord, and you're gonna have a new car and so on and so forth. But the Lord said, thy prophets have seen vain and foolish things for thee. Right? That's vanity for them to telling you prosperity messages. Right? Why they not telling you how to get the kingdom of heaven, man? Right? How to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. Right? But they telling you that the law is done away with. That's vanity. That's lies. Deceitfulness. Right? It says, and they have not discovered thine iniquity. So they haven't discovered, you understand, why we went into slavery on slave ships, why we still at the bottom of society, why we the last hired and the first fired. They haven't discovered these things, man. Right? Because they teach for hire. Right? And the Lord said that. Right? It's the book of Micah. Right? Through the Spirit. Right? Bear with me. Right? Because the Lord told us about these men, you understand, these false leaders that will be leading us to destruction. Right? It's the book of Micah chapter 3 and verse 11. It says, the heads thereof, right, or your judges, right, because that's what a head is, or a principality, right? It says, the heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire. So these men that are teaching you, right, telling you that they feel like this and they feel like that, they teaching for hire, man. They collecting your tithes and your offering, but at the same time, they telling you that the law is done away with and that you can eat a pork sandwich, man. Right? That's not according to knowledge. Right? So our judges have failed us. Right? So the Lord said, this is the book of Micah, chapter 3 and verse 11, the heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire, and the prophets therefore divine for money. Yet will they lean upon the Lord and say, is not the Lord among us? None evil can come upon us. That's what these pastors are saying, man. Even right now, they saying no evil is gonna come upon you, right? The coronavirus is gonna go away, and we're gonna open back up the churches, and we're gonna jump, we're gonna shout, we're gonna praise, and they're gonna speak in tongues, right? They're gonna speak in unknown tongues, right? That they can't that they don't have an interpreter for. Well, this is all off, man. This is all off. Right? So your true judges are going to judge you according to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Bible, man. Right? And this is why we out of order as a nation of people. This is why the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are even calling themselves black, Hispanic, and Native American and don't know that they're the Israelites, man. The 12 tribes of Israel that have been sanctified from the foundation of the world to be God's chosen people and get the kingdom of heaven. Right? So let's go to let's go back to the book of Deuteronomy, right? Chapter 1 and verse 15. Right? I'm going to read that again. Deuteronomy 1, and I'm going to start at verse 16. It says, and I charge your judges at the time, saying, hear the cause between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother and the stranger that is within you. Right? Verse 17, it says, ye shall not respect persons in judgment. So you're not supposed to respect somebody in judgment, man. Whether you're a king, you understand, or whether you are at a lower state in life. You're supposed to judge every man according to what the Most High set up, man, which is the law, statutes, and commandments. Right? So let's go to the book of Deuteronomy 16 and verse I want to go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 18. Right? It's the book of Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 18. And the Lord set this up from the heavens, man. Right? It was ordained from the heavens. You understand that the Most High came down and put a spirit on men to be judges for the people, man. Right? The nation of Israel and the whole world. Right? So this is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 16 And I'm going to start at verse 18, and it reads, it says, Judges and officers shalt thou make thee in thy gates, right? So your gates is your countries, man, your cities, right? Judges and officers shalt thou make thee in thy gates, which the Lord thy power giveth thee throughout the tribes, right? And the Lord gave us these judges, right? And he sanctified these judges, you understand, to judge you in the times that you live in now, right? So that we can get the kingdom through the Spirit. It says, and they shall judge the people with just judgment. The Lord said they shall judge the people with just judgment, right? What is just? The law is just. Let's go to the book of Romans, right? Because let's see what's just. It's the book of Romans, chapter 7 and verse this is the book of Romans, chapter 7 and verse 12, and it reads, wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just, and good, right? So the just judgment that we're making is through the commandments, because they're holy, right? And they're just, and they're good, right? So when you make your judgment according to the law, statutes, and commandments, right? So let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 39. The book of Proverbs, chapter 31. And we're going to start at verse number 9, right? Right? It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 31 and verse 9. Let's see what the Lord said, right? Because you got a lot of people that say, well, you know, that Tupac spirit, man, only God can judge me, right? And they're proud when they say that. They say, well, you can't judge me, only God can judge me, right? Well, let's see what the Lord said. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 31 and verse 9, and it reads, open thy mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and the needy. So the Lord said, open your mouth and judge righteously. Meaning what? You better say something. If you go outside and you see somebody getting raped or molested, you better make a judgment, right? Your body makeup, you understand, and all of the molecules and everything that's in your body, you know, the way that your mind and your brain is set up, when you take a step, you make a judgment, right? When you wake up in the morning, you make a judgment on how you feel today, right? When you brush your teeth, you say, well, you know, my hand's kind of hurting. Well, I'm gonna brush my teeth with my right hand today. I'm gonna brush it with my left hand today, right? Everything you do is based off of judgment, right? And a lot of people making unrighteous judgments, man. They're judging people according to their own hearts and their own minds, which is why the whole world is polluted right now, which is why the wicked man is in rulership, right? And what did the Lord say when the wicked man is in rulership? The earth mourns. Let's get that in the book of Psalms, right? So like the book of Proverbs, chapter 29 and verse 2, right? Let's see why the whole earth is in mourning, right? It says, this is 29, the book of Proverbs, chapter 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Who are the righteous? The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that are being righteous according to the law, statutes, and commandments, because we're the Israelites that the Bible speak of, right? When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Who's the wicked? The so-called white man, right? Because he's a lawless man, right? They say in God we trust, but they don't follow no law, statutes, and commandments that are set up in the Bible, man, right? So who's gonna stand up and purify this earth? You so-called black man, you so-called Hispanic man, and Native American man of Negro and Indian descent that come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments in these last days, right? So the Lord said, open your mouth and judge righteously, right? So let's go to the book of Ezra, right? Let's get into the history of, of our people, man, right? So let's go to the book of Ezra, right? Ezra in the Old Testament, the so-called Old Testament, right? This book of Ezra, chapter 7. Let's go to verse 7, and we're gonna go to verse 25, right? And Ezra, this is the time of the Persians, right? When the Persians and the Medes had you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in slavery, man, because of our disobedience, right? This not our first time in slavery, right? When your forefathers and your foremothers came over here on slave ships, right? As prophesied in Deuteronomy 28:68, right? You been in slavery, man. You was in slavery amongst the Egyptians, right? The Persians and the Medes that we about to read about. After the Persians and the Medes, the Babylonians came down, right? And Moses prophesied against those Egyptians and fought for you. He was your judge. Ezra, Nehemiah was our judges, and the Persians and the Medes, right? During the Babylonian captivity, Jeremiah, right? After the Babylonian captivity, the Greek captivity, the Maccabees brothers, right? Which was the Greeks, right? Then after the Greeks, you got the Romans, right? Yahweh Shah, who you call Jesus Christ, he prophesied against them Romans, man. Right? So this is the book of Ezra, chapter 7 and verse 25, right? And this is around 3,400 BCE, right? To around 2000 BCE, right? When the Persians and the Medes empire got taken down by the Babylonians, right? And it reads, and thou, Ezra, after the wisdom of thy power that is in thine hand, set magistrates and judges, right? So a magistrate is a judge, right? A magistrate is someone, you understand, that orchestrates you or leads you, right? Which may judge all the people that are beyond the river, all such as known the laws of thy power, and teach ye them that know them not. Right? So this was a decree from the heavens, right? To tell Ezra to set up magistracy and judges to judge the people, okay, that know the law and the people that don't know the law. Why? To correct the people where they error. Right? It's a whole lot of people in error right now, man. Right? The whole nation, the whole world is in error right now. Because of these churches that are set up, these organizations that are set up, right, by the so-called white man, because they are under a 501c plan with the government, okay, to teach you philosophy and vain deceit, man. Right? So we always had judges. Right? Let's go to the book of Ruth, chapter 1. Right? Let's go to the book of Ruth, chapter 1, and we're going to go to verse, read from the top, right? Bear with me. The book of Ruth is a real small book, right? We're going to go to the book of Ruth, chapter 1, right? Salakia. Right. Bear with me. Alright, it's the book of Ruth, chapter 1 and verse 1. And it reads, now it came to pass in those days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. Right? So right here, we had judges ruling for about 300 to 400 years, right? Whether they was righteous judges or wicked judges, right? The nation of Israel had judges set up over them, right? For over 300 years, right? You had Deborah was a judge, right? And she was a woman. She was a righteous judge, right? You had Samson. He was a righteous judge, right? But he ended up going off, right? You had Gideon, right? You had Ehud, right? All of these were judges for the nation of Israel. You understand, that judged the people, right? According to the law, statutes, and commandments that the Most High set up, right? And this is just history of the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans having judges, man, in their life. Heads, magistrates, leaders, nobles, right? So let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20. And let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20. And we're going to go to verse number 4. And it reads, Wilt thou judge them, son of man? Wilt thou judge them? Cause them to know the abominations of their fathers. So Ezekiel, through the Spirit, he said, Wilt thou judge them? Wilt thou judge them? Cause these people to know their abominations, man, of their fathers. Because Israel was going off. Israel was going off. Ezekiel was a righteous prophet, and he had to go into captivity because the whole nation of Israel went off. Jeremiah, right? All of these men were righteous men, but we had to go into captivity as a nation because our judges went off. So we went off as a people, right? So look at the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American man today, man, woman, and child, right? Look at us as a nation, right? Look at our judges. Where are they? Now look at us as a nation of people. We're at the bottom of society, right? And we're the Israelites, man. So whenever your judges and your nobles and your rulers are not judging according to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Bible, right? You're going to be at the lower state in life as a nation, right? So let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 25, right? Because you got to understand that, man. You got to understand that, you're supposed to judge righteously, right? And that's in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, right? And this is a whole collection of books. And no such thing as Old Testament, New Testament, right? This is all one book, right? One song, right? And they all lead to the same road, right? So this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 1. It says, If there be a controversy between men, and they come unto judgment, that the judges may judge them, then they shall justify the righteous of the Salakia, and condemn the wicked. Right? I'm going to read that again. It's Deuteronomy 25 and 1. If there be a controversy between men, and they come unto judgment, that the judges may judge them, then they shall justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. Right? So when you come to a controversy with someone, right, the judges would be, or the priest or the high priest, you understand? The people, they will go to the priest, the high priest, or the judges, and they'll say, okay, well, this is the matter thereof, right? And the high priest or the judges, they will judge the matter thereof according to the truth, right? What is the truth? Let's go to the book of Psalms, right? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 119, and verse 142. It says, Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. And we know that the Lord don't change, man, right? Yahushua said, Think not that I've come to destroy the law or the prophets. I have not come to destroy, right? And Yahushua is the truth, right? He said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the light, right? The light being what? The law, statutes, and commandments, right? So when our people will go forth upon these judges, they will have to judge them according to righteousness, right? And they will have to condemn the wicked, because that's righteous, right? If you do wrong, you understand, you get a judgment about that. Why do you think the whole earth is getting jacked up now, man? right? The Most High is plaguing this place with disease, famine, you understand? All type of judgment, man, is getting put on this place, right? So don't abuse your grace period, you understand, because you're not getting judged right away, right? Because the Most High is slow to anger, right? So let's go to the book of John, right? Let's see what the Lord said, right? Let's go to the book of John, chapter 7, right? And verse 24, and it reads, and that's what the Lord said. This is red letter. This is John 7:24. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. So the Lord said, don't judge according to appearance, right? But judge righteous judgment, right? That's the same thing that's in the law, because Christ taught the law, right? Christ didn't do nothing but magnify the law, right? You need to understand that. Christ didn't change the law, right? He didn't come and say, well, these are the only ones that, no. Christ magnified the law, right? Because Christ said, if you have hate towards your brother, you committed murder now, right? Roughly paraphrasing. So that's magnifying the law, right? So now that you just having an evil eye towards your brother, that's not just hatred in your heart, but that's also murder, right? And there's a lot of murderers out here. So let's read that again. This is the book of John, chapter 7 and verse 24. And it reads, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. And we just read what, we didn't read what righteousness is. Let's get it. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse 172. Right? Let's see what righteousness is. Right? 119 and 172. Out of the book of Psalms, and it reads, my tongue shall speak thy words, for all thy commandments are righteousness, right? So the commandments are righteous, right? So the Lord said, judge by the commandments, right? But don't judge according to appearance, right? But judge righteously, right? That's why the Lord said this, right? And here's another thing. People let's just go to it. It's the book of Mathew, right? Chapter 7, right? Let's just get straight to the point, right? It's the book of Matthew, chapter 7 and verse 1, right? It's the book of Matthew, chapter 7 and verse 1. All of the Christians know this verse. It says, judge not that ye be not judged. And they take the Bible and they close the Bible, right? They say, judge not that ye be not judged. And they close the Bible, you understand? And they say, well, I just rebuked you, right? Well, hold on now. Let's keep reading. It says, judge not that ye be not judged, right? Verse 2. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. So the judgment that you're judging, you're going to be judged by that same judgment. Meaning what? Meaning I can't tell you, right? I say, listen, I'm an Israelite. I don't eat, you can't be eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, right? But you see me, I'm over here, I got an oyster sandwich, right? I'm eating shrimp, crab, and lobster behind closed doors. I can't judge you because I'm doing the same thing. So that's what the Lord is saying, right? Verse 2, it says, for with the judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again, right? So pretty much I can't be telling you to do something and to not do something, but I'm doing that very same thing, right? That's what the Lord is saying, right? Verse 3, it says, and why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but consider not the beam that is in thine own eye. So you focused on that little thing, but you got a beam in your eye and it's looking way bigger because you judging somebody and you pretty much being a hypocrite, right? That's what the Lord is saying. That's why the Lord was getting on those wicked Pharisees and Sadducees, you understand? Because they was telling people what to do, but they was going off, right? That's why the Lord said this. It's the book of Mathew, chapter 23, and verse 2, right? It says, saying, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, because Moses gave the laws and the commandments. It says, all therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, meaning what they're telling you to do to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, you need to observe it, right? Why? Because faith without works is dead, right? So Christ is teaching the people that believe on him, right? It says that, I'm going to read verse 3 again. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do, but do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. So the Lord said, what they telling you to do, you need to observe it. But what they're doing, you need to observe it, but don't do as they do, right? Because they're hypocrites, right? That's why the Lord was getting on those wicked Pharisees and Sadducees. That's why he said, ye are of your father the devil, right? Talking about Cain, right? Because Cain was a murderer from the beginning, right? And if you hate your own brother, right, you hating Christ, right, you a murderer. That's why the Lord said that, right? So let's go to Leviticus, the 19th chapter, right? Leviticus 19, right? Let's see what the Lord said about hating your brother, right? It's Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 17, and it reads, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine own heart, right? So you're not supposed to hate your brother, right? It says, thou shalt in any rise, meaning in any situation, rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. So if you love your brother, you're going to rebuke him. You're going to correct him and say, hey, brother, that's off, right? According to this commandment, right? Hey, brother, you're not supposed to be doing that. According to the, hey, brother, you can't eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, right? According to Leviticus 11th chapter. Hey, brother, you can't be cutting off your beard, brother, according to this law, right? Hey, brother, you can't be, shaving, you understand, according to Leviticus 19th and 27th, 19th chapter and the 27th verse, right? That would be righteous judgments. But if you see your brother, he going off, and you don't say nothing about it, right? You just laugh and say, well, that brother going off, and, ha, 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 right? More room for the kingdom for me. That's wicked. Right? So you're supposed to love your brother, love your neighbor, right? By correcting him and teaching him according to the law, statutes, and commandments. Right? So this is the book of Titus, right? To piggyback off of that. Right? It's the precept for that. Right? Because people say, well, that's the Old Testament. Well, let's see what the Lord said. Right? The book of Titus, chapter 1. And I'm going to start at, bear with me. It's the book of Titus, chapter 1 and verse 13, and it reads, this witness is true. Wherefore rebuke them sharply, that they may be sound in the faith. Right? So you're supposed to rebuke your brothers sharply, that they be sound in the faith, meaning sound in the gospel, the truth. Right? We just read what the truth was. So you rebuke your brother according to righteousness. Right? So that he can come into this thing, right? And get built up in the spirit and get stronger in the faith. Right? So let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 45, and verse 26. Right? The book of Sirach, chapter 45, and verse 26. Right? You got to go through the precepts. Right? Because for too long, people been saying, well, baby, you can't judge me. Right? A lot of y'all great grandmas be saying that. You can't judge me, baby. Right? Your grandma's going off. Right? This book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, right? Chapter 45 and verse 26. And it reads, Sirach 45 and 26, the Most High give you wisdom in your heart to judge his people in righteousness, that their good thing be not abolished, and that their glory may endure forever. So the Most High gives you the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding through the scriptures, through the precepts, through the obedience, right? That what? I'm going to read it again. The Most High give you wisdom in your heart, meaning your mind, to judge his people in righteousness, that their good things be not abolished, and that their glory may endure forever. So your good things is all the things that the Lord promised you. The kingdom of heaven, the rulership, you understand? Being set on high above all nations, right? The Lord wants that to happen, right? The Lord wants to give his people the kingdom, right? That it be not abolished, and that your glory may endure forever, right? Because the kingdom of heaven belongs to the Israelites forever and even ever, right? As it tell you in the book of Daniel, right? The 2nd chapter and the 44th verse, right? The book of Daniel, the 7th chapter and the 18th verse, right? So let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians, right? Chapter 2 and verse 15, right? Let's see what the Lord said about judging, right? Because, you got brothers, they going out, you understand, and, they got the posters, they got the signs, so on and so forth, and they telling you, they bidding you to the marriage, right? And people just getting all emotional, man, right? They having a fit, right? They're going up and they saying, well, these men and these so-called black men, they're growing out their beards and they telling us what to do, and we're older than them. Well, you got to deal with it, right? You got to deal with it, because the Most High has, this is a sanctification of the Most High, right? That the sons of the living God wake up in these last days and judge the earth, right? So this is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 15. It says, but he that is spiritual judgeth all things, right? So the spiritual man is going to be judging all things, right? And we know that the spirit is what? The spirit of these words, right? That the Most High has sanctified, right? Let's get that in the book of John. The book of John chapter 6 and verse 63. It says, it is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The word that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life, right? So all of these precepts, you understand? That's why when brothers read these precepts, right, and a brother may be watching this video, and before he came on, he's probably bumping the Tupac, right? Only God can judge me, right? He probably be sitting there plotting, well, I'm gonna go get me a Tupac tattoo, right? Only God can judge me, right? In 2020, right? Quarantine, right? Bumping the Tupac, right? He chimed into the video, right? And as we're going through the precepts, right? It was the spirit that quickeneth, right? And the flesh profiteth nothing, right? And the words that were spoken to him, they are spirit and they are life, right? The word quickeneth meaning made alive, right? So the brother was able to resonate with these words that's being brought forth, right? So let's go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 15. It says, but he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judged of no man, right? He himself is judged of no man, because he judged his own self according to the law, statutes, and commandments. So the spiritual man is just going to judge everything, man, right? From the smallest matter to the greatest matter, right? They're going to go back to the laws, right? The Lord said, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it's because there's no light in them, meaning no truth in them, right? So let's go to the book of Romans, right? Let's go to the book of Romans, right? Chapter 7, right? Go to the book of Romans, chapter 7 and verse 14. And it says, for we know that the law is spiritual. So the law is spiritual, man, right? For we know that the law is spiritual, right? And that's really the point on that, because the law, um, it is spiritual, right? And we just read what the spirit was. It's a quickening spirit, right? So this is the book of I want to go to the book of First Corinthians. I want to go back to First Corinthians, and I'm gonna go to verse chapter 6, and I'm gonna go to verse 2, and it reads, right? Do you not know that the saints shall judge the world? Who were the saints? The saints are the Israelites, right? Let's get that real quick. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 50 and verse 5, right? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 50 and verse 5. It says, gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. So who made a covenant with the Most High by sacrifice? The Israelites. Who are the Israelites? You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that are scattered amongst the four corners of the earth. Right? Let's get another one. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 148. Right? And verse 14. It says, He also hath exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Praise ye Yahweh. So you the Israelites, you are the saints, right? And the Lord said in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 2, do you not know that you Israelites, the saints, shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, you are unworthy of the judgment of the smallest matter, right? So the saints are going to be judging the world. We're going to be judging all of the other nations, right? Because we're the judges, man, right? We're the rulers, right? We're the kings, right? We're the priests who the Lord set up and sanctified from the foundation of the world to cleanse the world, to be in charge of the world, you understand? And to set the world straight, man, right? And to praise the Most High, right? That's why the Lord said this in the book of Psalms, chapter 82, right? See what the Lord said. The book of Psalms, chapter 82, and I'm going to go to verse 6. It says, I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are the children of the Most High, right? And we know that only children of the Most High are the Israelites, right? Go read the book of Romans, the 9th chapter, right? In the 6th verse, you'll see that everybody's not a child of God, but only in Isaac, right? Who his seed was called and chosen, right? So the Lord said, I have said ye are gods, meaning what? Rulers, judges, right? And the Lord said the same thing in the book of John, right? Let's go to the book of John, chapter 10 and verse 32. Right? And it reads, and Yahweh shall answer them, Salaki, this is the book of John, chapter 10 and verse 34. And it reads, and Yahweh shall answer them, is it not written in your law? Is it not written? The Lord said it's not written in your law, right? So the book of Psalms is the law. Is it not written in your law? I have said ye are gods, right? So it's written in our law that the Most High said it was gods. And it's written in the book of Exodus, right? Because the Lord said this. It's the book of Exodus chapter 22, right? And this is where they even got that from, because Christ taught out of the law, right? This book of Exodus chapter 22 and verse 28. And it reads, it says, thou shalt not revile the gods, nor curse the rulers of thy people. Now, what is a ruler, right? A ruler is a judge, right? A leader, a noble. So the Lord said, thou shalt not revile the gods, right? That's why Miriam got leprous, because she spoke up against Moses, right? So a lot of you so-called women, you speaking up against these men that are teaching you this gospel in these last days, you reviling the gods, and you need to repent, right? So the Lord said that we're gods, man, right? And we're the rulers and we're the nobles, right? The judges, right? So let's go to the book of Sirach, right? And we're gonna judge these other nations, man, right? We're gonna get them all, or we're gonna get them all in straight, and we're gonna judge these other nations, man, right? That's why the Lord said this in the book of Psalms, right? Chapter 2 and verse 8, it says, "Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession." So the Lord said, ask of me, and I will give you the heathen for thine inheritance. Who are the heathen? All of the other nations, the so-called white man, the so-called Arab man, right? The so-called Japanese man. All of these nations have a biblical identity, right? The Lord made 18 nations of people, right? So the Lord told us to ask for the heathen, right? And the Lord is only going to give them to us when our nobles are in order and our nation is cleansed and healed and we're following the law, statutes, and commandments, right? So the Lord said this in the book of Sirach, right? Got a few more precepts, right? It's the book of Sirach, right? Chapter 4. And I want verse 15. It says, "Whosoever giveth ear unto her shall judge the nations, and he that attendeth unto her shall dwell securely." So the Lord said, if you giveth ear unto her, meaning the truth, the law, statutes, the commandments, the Holy Spirit, you shall judge the nations. Right? Isn't that what you want? Don't you want to be a ruler and a judge over the nations? Right? Then the Lord say in the book of Revelations, let's get it. It's the book of Revelations, right? Chapter 2. Right? It's the book of Revelations, chapter 2, and verse 25. It says, "But that which ye have already, hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations." So if you got power over somebody, that means you're a ruler or a judge. Right? Verse 27. "And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers." Now this is a literal rod of iron. "Even as I received of my Father." So the Lord is telling the Israelites, you understand, that they're going to rule over the other nations with a rod of iron. Right? Your Christian pastor not telling you that. Right? So let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon. Right? Chapter 3 and verse 8. Right? Out of the Apocrypha. Book of Wisdom of Solomon. Chapter 3 and verse 8. And it reads, "They shall judge the nations," talking about the Israelites, "and have dominion over the people, and their Lord shall reign forever." Right? So the Israelites are going to get the kingdom at the end of the day, because Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Right? Let's get that in the book of 2nd Esdras. Right? It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 6 and verse 9. "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." And our forefathers was asking and wondering, right, about the end times and how the kingdom of heaven, when it was gonna appear. Right? And the Most High said Esau is the end of the world. Who's Esau? That's the biblical name for the so-called white race. Right? And the Israelites are going to be judging Esau. Right? According to his judgment. Right? That's why the Lord said this in the book of Obadiah. Right? It's the book of Obadiah, right, through the Spirit, by Shema Mashiach Yahushua. Right? It's the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, and verse, I'm going to start at verse 21, and it reads, "And saviors shall come." Now a savior, in this plural here, meaning a ruler or a judge or a leader, because this is plural. And saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. Just like we just read, the kingdom is going to be the Lord's because the Israelites are going to be freed from their captivity, and all of the saviors, the rulers, the nobles, the judges are going to be sanctified, judging the people according to the commandments, and the Israelites are going to be dwelling in their respective lands safely, and there shall be no more wars, right? But there shall be peace on the earth, right? There's no peace on the earth now, because those fake Jewish people in our land, right? So the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American men got to come back to the Bible and judge the nations, man, and judge their people according to the commandments. That's why the Lord said this in the book of Psalms, chapter 94, right? It's one of my favorite precepts, the book of Psalms, chapter 94, and verse 16. It says, "Who will rise up for me against the evildoers? Or who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity?" So who's going to do that? Who's going to judge the people according to the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Who's going to say, I'm tired of oppression. I'm tired of the wicked man being in rulership, right? And judge the people, man. And tell them, thus saith the Lord. Who's going to lift up their voice like a trumpet and show the Israelites their transgression in these last days, right? So I got a few more. Let's get the book of Revelation, chapter 14, right? Revelation chapter 14 and verse 1. And it reads, "And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Sion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads." Right? Meaning these 144,000 were sanctified from the foundation of the world. Right? And it says, "And I heard a voice from heaven, and a voice of many waters, and a voice of the great thunder, and I heard the voice of the harpers harping with their harps." Verse 3. "And they sung as it were a new song before the throne." Because we're going to be singing a new song, right? We're not going to be singing, "Lord, come help us. Lord, come save us" no more. And, "Lord, we need you. Lord, we sad. Lord, we getting depressed." Right? We're going to be singing a new song, man. We're going to be saying, "The body of Yahweh for come saving us from the hand of the evil and wicked men, the bloody man, the sinful man." Right? And we're going to be singing, and it reads, "If were a new song before the throne, and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth." Right? So this 144,000 are the elect government body of the nation of Israel that was sanctified from the spiritual world. You understand? And these men were put on earth. You understand? And they're going to be judging the entire earth, right? In the kingdom of heaven, right? Verse 4. "These are they which were not defiled with women," right? Women being philosophies, doctrines, right? Philosophies like Christianity, Islam, right? Spiritual fornication, right? "These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins." Virgins meaning they were sanctified from the ancient world, you understand, to be without spot or blemish, right? They didn't have philosophies on them, but they were elect to be in this truth and to teach this gospel to the 12 tribes of the children of Israel and be prophets unto their people and the nations. That's why the Lord said this in the book of James, right? It's the book of James, chapter 1, verse 26, and it reads, "If any man among you seem to be religious, and brideth not his tongue, but deceiveth in his own heart, this man's religion is vain. Right? Verse 27, here's the point. Pure religion is undefiled before the Most High, and the fathers is this, to visit the fatherless and their widows in their affliction, and to keep him unspotted from the world. Right? So pure religion, which is the truth, is undefiled. Right? And these men are going to be without spot or blemished. Right? So that's why in the book of Revelations, chapter 14 and verse 4, it says, these are they which were not defiled with women, right? Because women being philosophies, chiefly America, because America is that great whore, right? Where you can come over here and you can do anything, be a freak, faggot, anything, right? These are they which were not defiled, right? With that lust spirit, so on and so forth, that's heavily pushed in America, right? So these men are going to be the governing body for the nation of Israel, judging the people according to the laws, statutes, and commandments. Right? This is a few more. Go to the book of Ezekiel, right? Chapter 25. Right? Another one on who's going to be judging these people. It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 25 and verse 14, and it reads, and I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel. Right? So the Israelites are going to be judging Edom, right? And it's going to be the Most High is going to put vengeance on these Edomites, and it's going to be led by the Israelites. Right? Another one. Let me get the book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 25. Salakia Khan. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 25. And it reads, and I will turn my hand upon thee, and purely purge away the droves, and take away all thy tin. Verse 26. And I will restore thy judges at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward, thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, thy faithful city. So the Most High is restoring our judges right now as we speak. The elect is being sealed. Brothers are waking up and coming into this truth and sanctifying themselves, purifying themselves, making sure their garment is cleansed so it can be without spot or blemish by Hashem Mashiach Yahushua. That's why the Lord said this in the book of Isaiah, chapter 30 and verse 20. It says, and though the Lord give you the bread of adversity and the waters of affliction, yet shalt thou not, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner any more, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers. So this is what you're seeing right now. You're seeing men in every city across the entire globe, right, teaching the scriptures as it is written. Right, verse 21. And thine ears shall hear a word behind thee, saying, this is the way, walk ye in it, when ye turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left. So righteous men, okay, are back on the earth. The prophets are back on the earth, right? You might not know who they are, right? Moses is somewhere walking on the earth. Jeremiah, Isaiah. Now these men, they don't know who they are, right? But their spirit is inside of these men, teaching thus saith the Lord, right? And these are your judges, your nobles, right? So let's go to the book of 2nd Esdras, right? It's the last precept, chapter 16. Right, book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 16, and verse 68. Salakia, bear with me. This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 16, and I'm going to go to verse 67. And it reads, behold, the Most High himself is the judge. Fear him. Leave off your sins and forget your iniquities. to meddle no more with them forever. So shall the Most High lead you forth and deliver you from all trouble. I'm Brother Endure, Fisherman for Zion. All praise to the Most High. Shalom.